Hi, I'm Kelly. As a life coach, I've noticed that the work I do with people isn't about their relationships or their jobs. It isn't about their kids or even how to find a way to get all the laundry done. All the work we do together centers around finding the answer to one simple question. What does it mean to live a fulfilled life? Join me as I explore this question and more in conversation with others in the Fulfilling Life interviews with me, Kelly Dahl, as your host. Hello, it's Kelly on the Fulfilling Life, and today I am here with Stacie Florer to talk with you all about what it means to live a fulfilled life. Stacie and I became acquainted through a blog hop hosted through Bridget Lyons a while ago, and from there I connected with her and was struck by the beautiful work that she does, which I'll let her tell you about. So Stacie, thank you so much for being here and being willing to be a part of this big conversation of exploring fulfillment. So why don't you start by telling everybody about yourself and the beautiful work I alluded to already.
Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Stacie, and I'm a jeweler. And I decided to figure out what it was that made me who I am by using my hands and manipulating metal and exploring my own inner terrain, so to speak, via learning how to make jewelry. And it opened up a whole lot of things for me as far as getting real with myself, really determining what it is that I want to do in the world, what I want to contribute. And it has led to a lot of writing about something that I call soul to substance, which is bringing forth what is within me and interacting with it in a tangible way through my jewelry. And I'm also have started teaching workshops through an organization in Washington, D.C. called Art Bliss. It's a yearly art retreat where people of like mind who are really creative and love making jewelry get together, spend the weekend, and learn new techniques for jewelry fabrication. So.
Wonderful. Well, I love, and Soul to Substance is the name of your jewelry business as well, as you use your own name as well. But I love that idea of it's not just putting jewelry together; it's bringing forth what's inside of you and bringing it into the physical world. And the
Right.
form that you have chosen is jewelry and metalsmithing.
Correct.
And you create really unique, very beautiful pieces that really do tell a story, which is something that I was drawn to in your work for sure. So we're talking about fulfillment, and part of your own seeking of a fulfilled life and questioning it is finding this work that is an expression of you. And I wonder, from that, how do you look at that question of what it means to live a fulfilled life?
Well, this was a great question. When I agreed to do the interview, the thing that really appealed to me was that you were asking this question. I think that it is a foundational, fundamental question to ask yourself. What can I do to be fulfilled? And I think there's a lot of wisdom in the doing part. I looked up the definition of fulfillment or fulfill, and it means, or one of the definitions that I really resonated with was to bring into actuality. And that is what I believe I have learned through making my jewelry, was bringing an idea that I have that started in what I believe is my soul. And that seed was planted in my mind, and I brought that out via my hands. And so this thing that started in nothingness I was able to make it and interact with it, and if it appeals to somebody else, I think we're kind of communicating in a wordless way regarding personal adornment and what art is. It's a way to wear art on you, literally. But fulfillment, when I really looked at that, I think that there's this idea that to live a fulfilled life is just to live in this state of perpetual happiness. That's what we're going for. That's what we're trying to do when we're living a fulfilled life. But that bringing into actuality ideas that you have, or values that you hold, or beliefs that you have, bringing them into actuality, I think that process adds to the feeling of this feels good. This is a pleasurable activity, and therefore I really feel fulfilled in that moment. But I think it changes. I think it changes every time you take one step, or I kind of think of life as this spiral staircase, and you stay on a certain level, and then you take an incremental step up, and then you're really ready and receptive enough to want to learn something else or bring something else into actuality. And so it's really important that you know who you are, you know what you like, and you focus on that in order to live a fulfilled life.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many wonderful images that what you've said have brought to mind for me, the idea of a spiral staircase, and it's not a direct route. It's circular and confusing at times and makes you dizzy at times, right?
Yeah,
but it's still leading upwards to a different place where you're bringing something forth into actuality.
Right.
And thinking about your work as you spoke as well, and that you're a metalsmith, and that you change the form of something, and you change the appearance of something, and that process of bringing something forth into the world is I think there's a lot of really rich metaphors in there too, which is great. So your work is so connected to this idea of understanding what's inside of you and bringing it forth, which was that definition of fulfillment that resonated with you. It's not always easy, right? To be working towards that fulfillment. So I wonder, you've alluded to the fact that you haven't been making jewelry your whole life, and that you do believe that what is fulfilling one day might not be the next. So that makes me think of some of the things that help you live a fulfilled life. So what are some of the things that you do in your life to keep you on that path towards seeking fulfillment?
So I think for me, I learned what living a fulfilled life was like by experiencing what not living a fulfilled life was like. And there was a time in my life when I had a job that I didn't really like that much. I wasn't bringing anything into actuality that I really resonated with, that was important to me. It was just a means to an end. It was money, and I was deeply unhappy, and I started getting depressed. And I think for me, the depression came from not bringing forth into actuality what I felt was within myself. And I think if you start living that way on a long-term basis, it really hardens you, and you start viewing the world in a completely pessimistic way. And so I learned from not living a happily fulfilled life. I was manifesting what I thought was important at the time, but my feelings weren't in alignment with it. So I had a full stop, and I went to see a counselor. It was a serious break for me. Yeah. And she said the best advice she gave me was, watch what you do when you're not having to do anything, and follow that if you want fulfillment. And at that time, I was beading. I mean, I could spend hours just putting beads on a string. And I thought, well, let me follow that. Let me follow that. That makes me feel good. I have an immediate thing that I can interact with, and I'm bringing forth from me by just picking the colors, the shapes, and textures. And so I followed her advice, and that's how I went into jewelry. And it's really funny though, because when I was a kid, I used to spend hours wrapping telephone wire, the really beautiful colors, and I could spend hours doing that, and I started understanding it's like, well, when we're children, we follow the things that fulfill us. We're always in the moment. And we chase the pleasurable feelings that we have when we're doing something. And so, I was lucky that I had a happy childhood. Not everybody does, but I had a happy childhood in the fact that I had the space to follow what my flirts were, so to speak. And so I remembered what it felt like to be fulfilled from a happy, pleasurable point when I started bending wire again. And that led to metal jewelry, and that just led to this whole journey into Soul to Substance.
What an amazing story, and I love that piece of advice to follow what you do when you don't have to be doing something. And I've heard before too that it's a question that comes up a lot. What would you do if you didn't have to worry about money, if that wasn't an issue and you weren't worried about putting a roof over your head? What would you do if you had if that was eliminated from your life? Which is a very similar take on the same concept of what really truly makes you feel fulfilled. So what a fascinating, and I love the connection to your childhood as well, of that memory coming forth of twisting the telephone wires as well. And I think there are messages and throughout our life paths that show us, wait, this really does make sense for me. And it's not such a surprise that here you are now creating jewelry out of metal. There were little pieces and hints maybe that was the direction you were going. And when you take the time to listen to them as well, and sometimes, unfortunately, I talk to a lot of people that this is the case, it does take really feeling the bad stuff to force you to say, wait, this isn't what I want. Even though on the outside everything might look okay, you had a job that was supporting you and all those things that society wants us to have, but yet you still felt that missing piece in there. So what would you say are some of the excuse me, what would you say are some of the things that get in your way of seeking that fulfillment and living your life in a way that is fulfilling? Because the path isn't always easy, right? There are things that come up.
It's not. And I had an epiphany this morning about a spiral staircase when I was in the shower, and this is something that my husband said. He said, well, epiphanies live in the shower. And he's so true. The way that we learn and the way that we interact with our environment is always bringing in new information and new feelings to chase if they're pleasurable. And the pleasurable feelings, the things that bring you pleasure, are a really good clue when that's what you need to chase. That's what you need to really experience, go down deeper. Even if it's fleeting, that's going to give you a clue as to what is important to you in order to live this, fulfilled life. But the things that stop me a lot of the times is forgetting that. I get too caught up sometimes in hey, I still need to make money and put bread on the table. And,
you need to sell your jewelry, right?
I need to sell my jewelry, and I need to establish a routine to where I'm productive. Being creative on call is hard because you don't always feel creative. And so when that's usually when I just decide to call a full stop. I go into my studio and I will just start playing and being spontaneous. And then I just kind of feel my way around my workbench. If something appeals to me, I will grab it and then just let my hands start playing with it and not thinking about it too much. I mean, usually when I start thinking about things too much and not applying what I know into action, that's when I start forgetting what it feels like to be fulfilled.
Yeah. What, you've mentioned that a few times. I think that that idea of really listening closely to what is pleasurable and what's not pleasurable, which is something that is not easy for everybody. So is there anything that you could share that you feel like has helped you be able to listen in an authentic way to those feelings and that voice inside of you that is trying to tell you something?
Sure. I write. I write on my blog, and I write for my business, but I also write in order to kind of suss out what it is that I'm feeling, or what changes I need to make in my life. If I'm having more feelings that are upsetting, or if I feel my emotional outbursts are filled with more feelings that don't make me feel good or anybody around me, then I start writing it out. And I also have a mentor in my brother, and which is great because he calls me on my shit whenever I need to let go of something that my ego is like really trying to hold on to and grasp. Yeah. And so I talked to Sean, my brother. He's very wise as far as cleaning up your life in order to stay in a state of fulfillment more often than not. So finding somebody that you can really talk to that knows you very well, and when your rational mind starts telling you, the things that your ego wants to keep, to hold on to and to keep, and your feelings are telling you need to ditch it. So right. I think that's really important. That helps me.
Yeah, you need
also, those. Yeah, I talk. I think as I'm talking too. So you need somebody that can kind of run with you when you're doing that.
Definitely an extra set of ears and eyes. I find with the writing process too, I'm a big believer for myself, processing through writing works, because there's something different seeing it come out in black and white that makes it more clear, or I can see the contradictions, or I can see where I'm maybe listening to a should more than is right for me, whether it's from friends or family or society or whatever it might be. And I can see it better when it's coming out through the pen or the keyboard or whatever it might be.
Well, you're bringing something within you into the physical. You're manifesting it literally, so you can interact with it. And then you're having a conversation with an aspect of yourself.
Right.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. Which circles back to sort of your mission through the jewelry that you create too, right? And this idea of bringing something into actuality and bringing something forth into the world in various forms. I love it. I love it all, Stacie. It's really wonderful, and it is so clear to me why I knew that I needed to invite you to be a part of this series. So I thank you very much for being here and sharing your thoughts on living a fulfilled life and working to bring forth something into actuality that brings you pleasure and makes you feel fulfilled. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And can you tell everybody once again where they can find you online and any parting words you wish to share?
Well, you can find me online at www.stacieflorer.com, and I'm currently in Marie Forleo's B School, so I'm in the process of another complete excavation of what it is that I want to bring forth into the world, and kind of up that spiral staircase. So things will be changing. But as far as parting words, really, I think it all goes back to what that counselor wisely told me was, if you want to live a fulfilled life, really listen to what and watch what you're doing when you don't have to do anything else. What brings you pleasure, and that it's okay to follow that, even if it's not something that's going to put food on the table or, or anything like that, if it's not a job necessarily, it's still important to do that because that's going to add so much more to your life in whatever form and way that you're bringing your dreams into actuality. So yeah, I guess that would be my parting words.
Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful advice. Thank you very much, Stacie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.